Hey there guys, welcome back to my movie channel and thank you very much for joining me for this, my review of Mandalorian Episode 5, The Gunslinger. Quick disclaimer, this review is going to contain spoilers. If you have not seen the episode The Gunslinger yet, be warned because I will be talking spoilers, so go see that episode. Make sure you come back here and join me for this review. The Mandalorian is still on the run with Baby Yoda because somehow bounty hunters are tracking Baby Yoda all throughout the galaxy, and we get that great space battle at the beginning between Mandalorian and another bounty hunter. It was fantastic. This show does such a great job of making it feel so cinematic. Like the effects, this is not done on a TV budget here, folks. These episodes are made on movie type budgets. And the little space chase at the beginning between the Mandalorian and the bounty hunter, and then you see this great pan down as the Mandalorian's flying down, and what is it? It's Tatooine. And I squealed like a little giddy little fangirl that I am. And we haven't seen Tatooine since, in live action anyway, since Return of the Jedi. And I thought, it's really great that they just went back to Tatooine. This episode is a real nostalgia trip for Star Wars fans. And I don't know how some of you felt, if you felt that was too fan servicey, if you don't want them to go back to planets we've already seen in the Star Wars movies. But I got a big kick out of the fact that he went to Tatooine and then he's landing there, and the woman, by the way, who owns that little landing dock, she did a great job in this episode. She's actually my favorite character introduced in this episode. I love that character. And the fact that we see the little pit droids from the Phantom Menace, I thought was a nice little touch as well. And this is Dave Filoni's second outing as a director for The Mandalorian. He directed the first episode, he also directed this episode. And this episode, by the way, it instantly is my favorite episode so far of The Mandalorian. Is it mainly just because of nostalgia and because of Tatooine? Yes, but I think this is a vast improvement as far as directing goes for Dave Filoni from the first episode to this episode. And I didn't think he did a bad job on the first episode, not at all, but this episode's definitely an improvement. And especially with some of the way that certain shots and certain scenes are composed and structured, this episode really feels like it was made in 1977. I think being set in Tatooine adds a lot to that effect, but I also think this episode felt so much like A New Hope. And again, Tatooine has a lot to do with that, of course, because it is the main setting of this episode. And I have no shame in saying that if they've just wanted to do a completely nostalgic filled episode and have it work, it worked on me. I loved it. I'm not sure how some of you might have felt about it, but I certainly really enjoyed it. And of course, we get the Mos Eisley Cantina again, and it was so well recreated. It's amazing how well that thing, they recreated that entire set. Because as soon as he landed in Mos Eisley, I was like, okay, it's going to be a damn shame. It's going to be the biggest missed opportunity in the history of Star Wars if he doesn't go to the cantina. And then they do their little homage to episode 4 with all the shots of all the different creatures at the bar. And then we get introduced to the character of Toro. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that is the exact same booth where Han Solo and Greedo faced off that Toro and the Mandalorian are sitting in. Hashtag McClunky. Now, I didn't end up catching the name of the actor who plays the character of Toro in this episode. Let me just say this about that character. I like that character. I don't think the actor did a great job in this episode. I think he's the strongest actor in the world. He didn't pull me out of the episode entirely. I just felt like he thought he was acting in a different episode or a different type of show. He almost overcooked his performance to me, and it's my one big criticism of this episode. And yes, I get the character is supposed to be a little douchey and arrogant, but I just think the performance was a little overcooked and a little overdone. Couple of other little references I liked here and there were when they're traveling across, I think, the Dune Sea, and he says, well, why can't we just go at her, talking about the Ming-Na character who's sniping at them. And the Mandalorian, there's a great reference to the high ground where he just looks at him and goes, she's got the high ground. At least in this context of the episode, the high ground thing actually makes sense. And the other reference I liked was when the Mandalorian says, don't kill her, she's no good to us dead, being a reference to Boba Fett, of course, in The Empire Strikes Back. Now, speaking of Boba Fett, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the little cliffhanger on the end there. Someone comes to the aid of Ming-Na Wen's character. Now, I'm not gonna lie, my eyes got a little wider at that shot because Look, the Mandalorians left the planet at that point, or so it seems. Now, I'm not really a big Boba Fett fan, and I'm not sure how I feel if they were to introduce Boba Fett into this series. I think Jon Favreau himself has said that Boba Fett will not appear in the series, but let's not forget that at one point J.J. Abrams said Benedict Cumberbatch was not playing Khan. So, is that Boba Fett that goes to rescue Ming-Na Wen at the end, because they clearly are hiding it for some reason? Or is it the Mandalorian? I don't know. If it's Boba Fett, I will say this. If it is Boba Fett and we find out in the next episode that is Boba Fett, I will say this. It wouldn't feel as forced as it would have if he had just shown up in an episode and they hadn't been to Tatooine at all. If he's been on Tatooine this entire time and he survived the Sarlacc pit, and remember, she is an assassin with a very large bounty on her head, it might make sense that Boba Fett would be going after her for some reason. Now look, if I had to put $5 on it, I'm gonna go out and say that, look, I don't think it's Boba Fett. But if it is Boba Fett, I'm not going to fall over with shock either. I will say one last thing that I really loved about this episode was, of course, the Tusken Raiders. And I love that the Mandalorian has learned from his mistake with the Jawas of not negotiating with them, and he actually negotiated with the Tusken Raiders to cut across their land. I really, really like that. Again, this show just gets better and better with each episode. This is my favorite episode so far. Yes, it's nostalgia, but whatever. Let me enjoy it. Let me have my sand-filled nostalgia. What did you guys think about Mandalorian Episode 5? Let me know in the comments section below. Hit that subscribe button, ring that notifications bell so that you never miss out on my take on all things movies. My name is Tom, and I will see you guys next time.